What's going on, everybody? JD here, and today I'm going to install the lower intake on Smokey, so you know what's coming next. Roll intro. Alright, so to get started, you need your supplies. So to install the lower intake manifold on your Mustang, if you've got a 5-liter car, 87 through 93, and actually pretty much any small block Ford, because the process I'm doing today will apply to a carbureted intake as well as a fuel injected intake. But anyway, you need your gaskets. These are just a set of the stock replacement gaskets, as the GT40 lower and the GT40 heads are about, they're not any larger or whatever, so you don't need a larger intake. And one of the special things I've got is this is the late model restoration ARP intake bolt kit that also has the stud. I showed you that in another video, which I'll put right up here. It has the stud for the heater piping. I've got some acetone, and I've got a little bit of oil. Yes, I like royal purple, and I've got royal black, or ultra black. That's gonna take place for the sometimes they have these. I'm gonna walk over here and point it out. May not be able to see with the light, but on this section right here, the intake manifold, the little S parts on the front and back, they have like a cork gasket or whatever. I'm gonna use the ultra black in place of that because it just works better. But anyway, let's get started. So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually I'm actually gonna clean the mating surfaces of the intake to the cylinder heads. So I'm gonna do that with acetone and a little bit of a rag, well, a little bit of acetone and a rag. I can't talk today. I'm sorry, guys. You're gonna hear me stutter a whole bunch. Don't mean to. It just is what it is. I don't English well. But anyway, I'm gonna take a towel and get it pretty well soaked with acetone. And wipe these surfaces off. You probably heard my phone go off. If you didn't, good. I snuck it by you. But the reason I'm doing this is, as I assembled the valve train the other day, I probably spilled a little bit of oil on these surfaces. But I just wanted to get them good and clean for when I put the gaskets on. Now I'm going to grab the gaskets, and I'm going to check them just to make sure I don't look like a fool. Now, they do have two sides. The one with the stripes, and it's also stamped right there. It says head side, so that's the side that goes against the cylinder head. I'm just gonna lay them out here and make sure they all line up. And I'll probably put a couple dabs of black RTV. Yeah, that's perfect sizing, actually. Cool. I'm gonna put a couple dabs of RTV and get started with it. The reason I'm going to put a couple dabs of RTV is I actually want to hold the gasket in place. I'm not actually trying to seal this to the head surface. I just need something to hold that gasket there well enough while I do it, or while I put everything in place. Now, if you're doing this on a stock car, you more than likely are going to have two tabs that stick out from your head gaskets. Now, I had to trim mine off because they didn't line up with what I was doing, but typically you would have little tabs that stick out from your head gasket that align that for you. And just put a little pressure on your gasket, down on the RTV. It looks like I didn't do enough RTV. Let me add a little more. And once again, I'm not creating a gasket here for this. All I'm doing is trying to get this gasket to stick. You don't need much RTV for this at all. You just want that gasket to stay in place while you put it all together. I'll step over here to the other side and look. Make sure it's all lined up. That is lined up. Time for the other side. Couple of dabs here and there. Just give that gasket something to stick to. Once again, not wanting a lot of it, just enough to keep the gasket in place while I set the intake down on it. The last thing you want is this thing to shift or move on you. I believe that does it. All right, on to the next step. All right, for the next step, you're going to take care of the two little S sections in the front and back of the intake manifold. You're just going to use your RTV and you're going to run a 1/4 inch bead instead of using that silly cork gasket or whatever comes. So it doesn't have to be rocket science, but you want it to be approximately a 1/4 inch thick. That's just for the intake manifold to sit down on. I'll do the back side now. And that'll seal up your lifter valley. All right, simple enough. Cap this thing up and move on to the next step. All right, here comes the fun part. Trying to set this thing down square. Oh, so I'm gonna grab it in a couple of these intake runners. Try to grab it in a couple of these intake runners and set it down as square as I possibly can, which is not as easy in the car. And I think that's it. I think I just nailed it. It's about as good as it's gonna get, at least. All right, time to grab some bolts and start it up. Or start the bolts, not start the car up, obviously. But yeah, it looks like it's time to grab the bolts and start them. All right, the next step in the process in getting ready to start these bolts is take you a little bit of oil. Have a container of some sort. I stole one of my wife's Tupperwares. And you want to get a little bit of oil on the threads that are starting. So a little bit of oil on the threads of the bolt, and a little bit of oil underside on the other side of the head of the bolt. So a little bit on the threads there. Dip a finger of a glove and work it on the underside of that head of the bolt and start it. Now, I'm not gonna have you sitting here watching the entire process for every single bolt, but I figured I would show you guys at least one and go from there. Alright, now it's time to torque them down. I'm going to go in 2 stages. First stage, the lowest my wrench will go is 16 pounds. So first stage 16, and then the second stage and the final torque will be 25 pounds per bolt. You also want to go from the inside out, so I'll do a pattern. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to torque them down. So let's get started. Well, there you guys have it. The lower intake manifold's been installed on the on Smokey. I can't even talk. Anyway, beautiful day. Figured I'd get some work done on the car, guys. I appreciate you checking out the video. Like, comment, subscribe, all that normal stuff. By the way, my social media links are down in the description below. I'd love for you guys to come check me out on Instagram, Facebook, so on and so forth, even Twitter. Come hang out with me. I'll look forward to seeing you guys there. I'll catch you guys in the next video. As always, I hope you have a great week. Peace.